exposed the incredible truth behind her decision to leave him discover his 100M hidden savings. Sarah peered out of the window, the sun sinking low in the sky, casting long shadows over the small Midwestern town she called home. The annual Harvest Fair was just a week away, the event that usually brought smiles, laughter, and a sense of community. But this year, it felt like a weight pressing down on her chest. The cozy diners and smiling faces didn't resonate with her as they once had. Instead, all she could think about were the bills piling up on the kitchen counter, the anxiety swirling around her heart as she faced the impossible task of holding her family together. She was a nurse, a single mother to 2 young children, desperately juggling work and parenting. Mark, her husband, had once been a dreamer, ambitious and full of hope. But after his business failed, he morphed into someone unrecognizable, a ghost of the man she once loved. Their home felt like a battlefield, the echoes of laughter replaced by silence thick with resentment. The emotional exhaustion drained her day after day. She fought to keep the family afloat while he retreated further into his disappointment, a heavy cloud hanging over their family. And then, everything changed. While clearing out an old box, she stumbled upon a series of bank statements. Her heart raced as she read the numbers. A staggering 100 million. Hidden from her. Her world shattered in an instant. Why wouldn't he share this with me? Tears welled in her eyes as she grasped the betrayal. She had believed in honesty, in hard work, but here was Mark, choosing greed and silence over the dreams they had built together. Despite the overwhelming pain, her community rallied around her, offering support and understanding. Friends offered to babysit the kids while she worked extra shifts, praying for her strength amid the wreckage of her marriage. Sarah felt anger and confusion flicker like an unsteady flame. As Mark defended himself, claiming he wanted to spare their children from the burdens wealth could bring, Sarah's resolve hardened. She was stuck between love and resentment. How could she reconcile the years they spent dreaming together with this reality? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. As the Harvest Fair approached, Sarah prepared for the festivities with a mix of dread and anticipation. It was meant to be a joyful occasion, but the dynamics of their family life felt like a performance waiting to unravel. This year, she needed to confront Mark. Just as she steeled herself for a difficult conversation, Mark showed up at the fair visibly anxious yet determined. As the celebration unfolded, surrounded by laughter and colorful decorations, Mark felt the weight of secrets pressing down on him. In front of familiar faces, he took a breath, ready to unveil not only his hidden wealth, but also the self-doubt that held him captive for so long. Panic washed over Sarah as she watched him. Would this be a catalyst for healing, or the moment that would finally tear them apart? With their world hanging in the balance, she realized the choice was hers to make. Would she welcome vulnerability as a chance to redefine their family, or let bitterness take root? As the crowd held its breath, uncertainty lingered in the air, and Sarah's heart raced, ready for a resolution that loomed just out of reach. The vibrant colors of the Harvest Fair surrounded Sarah, but she felt trapped in a muted world. Children ran by, their laughter ringing like distant bells, but her mind was a storm-clouded, chaotic. Mark stood a few feet away, his expression a mixture of terror and determination. He seemed smaller somehow, shrunken under the weight of his revelation. And yet, all she could feel was the churning anger within her. He took a step closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "Sarah, I know I've hurt you. But please let me explain. The air buzzed with the excitement of the fair, cotton candy sweetening the atmosphere, yet all she could taste was bitterness. "Explain? You want to explain why you hid a fortune from me?" The words slipped from her mouth like daggers. Mark recoiled slightly, his face twisting in pain. "I didn't want to burden you. I thought I could bounce back. I thought it was best for the kids. I wanted to shield them from it all." She blinked, her breath stuttering. "Shield them? Or shield you? You're not the only one who's suffered, Mark. Do you know what it's like to carry this weight alone?" The fire of frustration crackled between them, but beneath it, a deeper pain smoldered. She remembered dreams of a life filled with love, of laughter ringing in their home. Those echoes felt like ghosts now. "I thought you'd want the kids to grow up normal," he pleaded, desperate. Normal. The word felt hollow. They used to be a team, navigating life's challenges together. Now they were lost, scrambling in opposite directions. Sarah glanced at their children, tossing corn kernels to ducks, and losing themselves in joy. With that innocent laughter nearby, hope felt so distant. "Mark, do you even understand what normal looks like for us? This isn't it. All that hidden wealth, and for what? A facade? Your silence has cost us everything." Anger threatened to engulf her, but tears pricked at the corners of her eyes. Would she let this moment spiral into a battle or step toward a resolution? Could she still find the family she longed to hold on to, even amid the wreckage? Mark stepped forward, looking vulnerable. "I want to make things right, Sarah. I truly do. I see now that my decisions came from a place of fear not just for me, but for us. I thought wealth would ruin everything. But you kept me in the dark," she whispered, the weight of betrayal settling in her heart like a stone. "How could you think that was best?" Silence stretched between them, thick and heavy. Around them, the laughter and chatter continued, oblivious to the storm brewing between the couple. As they stood there, time seemed frozen, their lives teetering on the edge of a cliff. Would Mark's vulnerability bring them closer together, or push them further apart? Would he reveal more truths, or would he turn back into the man she had fought to forget? "Please, just give me the chance to show you," he said softly. Just then, a loud bang erupted nearby, a silly carnival attraction. Startled, their heads turned in unison. Hope sparked in Sarah's chest. Could that laughter mean something more? Could it bridge the rift between them? With her heart pounding and a storm of emotions whirling within her, she glanced back at Mark. It was now the moment where love could either triumph or shatter completely. What would be their next step together? As she turned to him, her breath hitching with unspoken words, the path ahead loomed uncertain. What if this was the turning point Sarah had never anticipated? Would they lean into the truth and risk the unknown, or would fear hold them captive once more as the fair progressed around them? And in that pregnant pause, with a universe of possibilities unfurling, Sarah realized she needed to decide not just for herself, but for the future of their family. The fairground buzzed with life, vibrant colors swirling around them like a whirlwind. Yet here, in their little universe, the chaos felt stifling. Sarah's heart thundered in her chest, drowning out the laughter and music, leaving behind only the raw pulse of her emotions. Mark stood before her, eyes wide with regret mixed with hope. He wanted to reach out, to bridge the chasm that had opened between them, but Sarah felt anchored to her spot, held down by a fierce tide of betrayal. "I'm done being hidden," she said, her voice stronger now. "You didn't just withhold money from me. You withheld trust, respect, our future." His expression faltered, pain rippled through his features. "I thought I was protecting you. I wanted to find a more stable moment to share it all when things were better, when I was better. I didn't want to drag you down with me. By dragging me through a lie? What you've done rippled through our lives in ways you can't even see. Do you really believe this hollow protection was for us? The kids deserve better, Mark. They deserve honesty. Just a few feet away, their children laughed, oblivious to the heartache echoing through their parents. Sarah looked at them, hearts wide open in joy while hers felt like it was splintering. Part of her wanted to run to them, shield them from the palpable tension, but another part screamed for resolution. "I thought I could handle the burden," he said, his voice cracking. "But I see now that I built a wall instead." His confession hung in the air, but it didn't offer a way in. It just opened her heart to more conflict. "A wall of deceit," she replied, a creeping despair starting to settle. "How do we get past it?" Mark took a deep breath, as if anchoring himself for the plunge. "What if we start by breaking that wall together? No more secrets. I can show you the truth, everything. Not just the money, but what I've been doing, how I've been trying to prepare for when I can finally be the husband and father you deserve." The sincerity in his eyes twisted something in her chest. She searched for words, while flickers of hope intermingled with doubt. "And what if I don't like what I find?" His eyes held hers, with a heavy honesty that made the world around them disappear. "Then we face it together. Please, Sarah. Let us not let this destroy us. I can't lose you, not to this, not to anything." For a moment, Sarah stood frozen, weighing the choices in her heart. Could hope be enough to dismantle the past? Mark's willingness to confront the truth felt like an olive branch offered amidst the storm. But was it too late? The cacophony of the fair faded further into the background as silence wrapped around them. Her pulse throbbed in her ears, drowning out the reality of the bustling fair. Then came a startling wave of realization. Her heart, despite everything, still wanted to believe in the possibility of rebuilding. "All right," she said finally, voice steady though her heart wavered. "Show me. We'll start with the truth, no more hiding." Mark blinked, the hope flaring in his expression. "Thank you, I'll show you everything I can." Before they could move forward, however, the sudden sound of laughter erupted nearby. A group of friends stumbled upon a fortune-teller booth, the colors strikingly vibrant, enticing the crowds to gather. The Sears bell chimed, cutting through the emotional fog, as if calling them away from their heavy moment. "Maybe this fair is more than just candy and games," Sarah mused, a small, tentative smile flickering at the corners of her lips as she gazed imploringly at Mark. "Maybe it's a place to uncover more than just secrets." Mark's brow furrowed for a brief instant, but as he watched her, laughter briefly replaced dread. "What are you thinking?" "Maybe we need to reevaluate what we find valuable," Sarah suggested. "What if we let the next hour guide us? No expectations, just a chance to explore together?" Her suggestion hung between them, bright like the overhead lights illuminating the fair. They could explore the unknown paths ahead, treading carefully, yet daring to be vulnerable. But where would that journey lead them? With a shared glance, they took their first steps toward the fortune-teller, not knowing that the choices they would make next could change everything. Would the secrets revealed there navigate them toward healing, or would they unearth more pain? As laughter echoed into the evening air, Sarah felt her heart flutter with uncertainty. This was a gamble, and as the line to see the fortune-teller grew shorter, she wondered, was she ready to embrace whatever came next? The fortune-teller booth loomed before them, draped in rich, deep-colored fabrics that swayed gently in the breeze. A soft pink glow emanated from inside, pulling people in like moths to a flame. As they approached, Sarah felt a fluttering in her stomach, a mix of excitement and trepidation. What could they learn from this enchanting little space? Was that the truth they both craved? "Do you really think it'll help us?" Mark asked, glancing down at the children playing nearby, their laughter floating on the cool night air. He seemed intrigued yet hesitant, as if the weight of his previous actions still tethered him to the ground. "Maybe," Sarah replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Sometimes you have to take a leap, even if it feels crazy." Moments later, they stepped inside the fortune-teller's tent. The smell of incense lingered like a gentle embrace, calming yet mysterious. A woman with a cascade of silver curls sat at a small round table, her eyes twinkling with an otherworldly knowledge. She was draped in layers of jewelry that jangled softly with every movement. "Welcome, dear souls," she said, her voice smooth and melodic. "What brings you to my humble sanctuary tonight?" Sarah exchanged a quick glance with Mark. We're looking for answers," she said, feeling her vulnerability stir under the seer's penetrating gaze. The fortune-teller nodded knowingly. "Ah, the quest for truth can reveal both sweetness and bitterness. Are you prepared for what may come?" Mark swallowed hard, leaning closer to Sarah. "What do you think?" he murmured, uncertainty flickering across his face. Taking a deep breath, Sarah felt the pull of bravery rising within her. "Yes, we're ready." With a wave of her hand, the fortune-teller gestured for them to sit. As they settled into their seats, Mark's hand brushed against Sarah's, warmth sparking between them. The seer shuffled a deck of tarot cards before laying them out on the table with purpose. "Your journey together has been one of shadow and light," she began, her fingers gliding over the cards. "But darkness can blind us to what truly matters." Sarah leaned in, her pulse quickening. "What do you mean?" The fortune-teller's fingers danced over the cards, revealing a mix of images that seemed to pulse with life. "This card," she said, pointing to one with a bright sun, "shows you have a strong foundation, even if it feels cracked. And this," she continued, revealing a stormy sky, "indicates unresolved conflict that clouds your path." Mark's expression darkened, the weight of her words hitting him as if physically. "That's what we've been dealing with," he mumbled, glancing at Sarah. "But look here," the fortune-teller continued, her finger hovering over a card depicting two figures hand in hand, the lovers. "This speaks of choice and partnership, of healing together, but requires trust." Sarah's heart raced. Was this the encouragement she needed? "That sounds like us," she said softly, glancing at Mark. The fortune-teller smiled knowingly. "The choice to either rebuild or walk away rests in your hands. Do not let fear guide you. Embrace the uncertainty." For a moment, Mark held Sarah's gaze, his eyes filled with a mix of sorrow and longing. "I want us to rebuild," he admitted, voice thick with emotion. "But I fear what you might discover." "What if we choose to lean into this together?" Sarah replied, sensing the transformation bubbling beneath the surface. "What if the truth isn't just about you?" "I'm not sure," he sighed, running his fingers through his hair, frustration lacing his voice. "What if what I've done it breaks us?" The fortune-teller's eyes darted between them, her voice becoming more intense. "The truth can shatter, but it can also free. Decide now, what kind of future do you want?" As those words hung in the air, a flicker of hope ignited within Sarah. Could their past shape a brighter future? "If we face it head-on, we might find a way through," Sarah suggested, her voice growing stronger, infused with a renewed resolve. The fortune-teller nodded, satisfied with their pact. "Then listen closely, for the path will reveal itself. Are you ready?" Mark squeezed Sarah's hand, looking both terrified and thrilled. "Whatever it takes." Just then, the rush of laughter and music surged back in, filling the air with joy. But this time, it felt different, hopeful, like a community embracing a new beginning. As they left the tent, stepping back into the fair's glow, Sarah felt a warmth spread through her. Perhaps the hidden truth would bring more than turmoil. It could pave the way to a new chapter. But before they could fully engage with the path ahead, a distant shout cut through the atmosphere. "Mark!" His heart sank as he recognized the voice. Who was calling him now? What more secrets lay waiting to be uncovered? As tension weaved itself back into their moment, Sarah's heart raced. What new revelation was about to surface? "Mark!" The voice called again, sharper now, slicing through the warmth that had begun to comfort them. Mark turned, the the brightness of the fair behind him blurred by the weight of recognition. "Not now," he muttered under his breath, fear creeping into his tone. Sarah felt his tension ripple through the air, casting a shadow over their newfound hope. A figure broke through the crowd, the harshness of the neon lights reflecting off disheveled hair and a fraying coat. It was Danny, Mark's brother. His face was pale, eyes wide with urgency. Sarah's heart quickened. This was not a call for celebration. It was a warning. "Mark, I've been looking for you." Danny's breath came in quick bursts, panic lifting his voice. "We need to talk. It's about Mom." "Mom?" Mark repeated, confusion clouding his features. "What is wrong with Mom?" "Not here," Danny said, casting a quick glance around as if the very air had ears. "Can we go somewhere private?" Mark hesitated, disaster washing over his features. "Sarah and I were just now, Mark," Danny urged, his voice rising slightly. Caught off guard, Sarah felt the ground shift beneath her. She looked at Mark, searching for some indication of what this could mean. The fortune-teller's words echoed in her mind. The darkness can blind, but the truth can free. What truth were they about to uncover? "Okay," Mark said finally, his voice a mix of surrender and dread. He grabbed Sarah's hand, leading her away from the fair's vivid colors and into the shadows beyond the flickering lights. They walked briskly, following Danny to a small, dimly lit alley that stood quietly at the edge of the fairground. The sound of laughter faded, replaced by the distant thud of bass music. Sarah felt the coolness of the night settle around them, an uncomfortable chill that mirrored the tightening knot in her stomach. "What is going on?" Mark demanded once they were shielded by the alley's walls, a protective barrier against the jubilant chaos. "Mom, she fell. I think she hurt her leg." "But that is not the worst of it," Danny stammered, rubbing his forehead in distress. "Just tell me," Mark replied, the tension in his voice growing sharp, echoing his rising panic. Danny took a breath, his face flushed. "She was at the hospital, and I overheard something. I don't know how to say this, but she has debts, really big debts. They could take everything. All those bad investments." Mark's face blanched, his mouth opening to protest, but no words came. The unyielding truth crashed over him like a tidal wave, knocking him off balance. "Wait, what do you mean everything?" Sarah interjected, struggling to grasp the implications. "Debts from what? And she didn't want you to know." "But there's more," Danny added quickly. "There's money hidden away, your father's savings. A lot of it. $100 million. His voice lowered, intensity saturating every inch of the alley. "Mom's been keeping it a secret." Mark recoiled, his hands tightly closing around Sarah's. $100 million? Why would she hide it? Because Danny hesitated, the weight of revelation heavy in the air. Because she thought it would cause more problems. She didn't want you to feel obligated to rescue her. But without it, the debts could ruin everything. The house, the memories. The words hung heavy, and Sarah felt a sudden tightness in her chest. She glanced at Mark, whose face was a mixture of confusion and anger. How could he be so close to everything he ever wanted only to be burdened with all this? "So this whole time," Mark said, his voice breaking, "we could have helped?" "Exactly," Danny replied. "But you have to decide what you want to do about it now that you know." As Mark processed the bombshell, the happiness from earlier dissolved. This truth felt massive, shifting the ground beneath their feet, making their hopes feel like bad dreams in the sharp light of reality. With her heartbeat climbing, Sarah interjected softly, "Mark, whatever this is, we can handle it together." Mark's eyes shifted to her, caught between the rising waves of emotions. "Can we?" he asked, vulnerability spilling over the barricade he usually erected around his heart. The alley felt colder, the shadows longer, as the enormity of the situation settled in. As they stood in that sea of uncertainty, One thought consumed Sarah. Would this revelation ultimately bind them together or tear them apart? Before Mark could respond, the echoes of laughter suddenly filled the space again, catching them off guard. Yet deep within, a new question loomed, a spark of hope tinged with anxiety over the choices ahead. What kind of family would they choose to be in the face of such truth? And when would the truth finally shake them awake? Danny shifted uncomfortably, breaking the charged silence. Look, I know this is a lot, but we need to decide quickly. I overheard some shady guys talking outside the hospital. They want their money, and they won't wait much longer. Mark's eyes widened, disbelief shadowing his face. The world around them, the carnival lights, the laughter, the joy felt a million miles away. What do you mean, shady guys? Who are they? I don't know, Danny replied, running a hand through his hair, his voice strained. But if they find out about the money and the debts, they could come after Mom. They could come after you. Cold dread crept into Sarah's bones. This wasn't just about debt. This felt like a thread hanging over them, ready to pounce. She tightened her grip on Mark's hand, trying to ground him amidst the storm of emotions swirling between them. What do we do? Mark asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The fight in him seemed to wither under the weight of the news. How did a day at the fair turn into this? We can't let Mom face this alone, Sarah said firmly, feeling a surge of determination rising inside her. Whatever she is hiding, whatever she has been protecting us from, she needs us now. Exactly, Danny said, nodding with renewed purpose. We can go get her, and then figure out a plan. We need to confront her. We need to know everything. Mark took a deep breath, his brows knitting together in deep thought. Right. But what do we say? How do I face her after all this? Honesty, Sarah urged, her heart pounding with resolve. We tell her we know about the debts, the money, everything. She broke our trust by keeping it all from us. But she needs us. We can't let her deal with this alone. We have to be a family. He looked up, finally meeting her gaze. There was fear, yes, but there was also something else, hope. Okay. Let us go. They trudged back down the alley, past the lingering sound of laughter, each step heavy with the knowledge that their lives were about to change forever. The fairground glowed brighter as they approached its entrance, but it felt ominous now, like the calm before a storm. As they neared the hospital, a sense of urgency washed over them. Sarah glanced at Mark, who was lost in thought, a furrowed brow resting heavily above his tired eyes. You okay? She asked softly. He shrugged, the weight of his worry evident. What if she is angry? What if she doesn't want to talk? She might be. But you deserve to know, Mark. We deserve to know the truth, no matter how ugly it is. Mark let out a shaky breath, his shoulders slumping. You're right. It's just he hesitated, searching for the right words. What if it ruins everything? What if she pushes us away? Then we push right back, Danny chimed in, a small spark of defiance lighting up his eyes. We go back together. We won't back down. We can face this. Together. Together. Sarah held onto that word tightly as they reached the hospital entrance, ready to confront the storm waiting for them inside. But as they stepped in, a sudden commotion echoed through the sterile halls, drawing their attention like a siren's call. A woman burst through the double doors at the end of the corridor, her face twisted in panic. Someone help! She cried, and time froze around Mark and Sarah. Mark's heart raced, fear intertwining with adrenaline. Who was the woman? What was happening? Their moment of decision was suddenly delayed by the urgency of the situation unfolding before them. Let us go see, Danny urged, taking off in the direction of the frantic woman. Wait, Mark hesitated, feeling the pull of two separate realities crashing together. We have to focus on Mom, but we can't ignore this either. As they followed Danny, A nagging question filled Sarah's mind. Would they be able to navigate this chaos and keep their family intact? A part of her hadn't expected to be facing another crisis so soon, and she could only hope the truth they were about to uncover would lead them to a stronger future if they survived the night. What would she find when they reached the heart of the chaos? They rushed through the hospital lobby, their bodies propelled by a mix of fear and determination. The chaotic scene before them painted a picture of panic. Nurses darted around, voices raised in urgency, yet all of it felt like a distant hum compared to the woman's cries. "Help!" she shouted again, her eyes wild. They locked onto Danny as he approached her. "My son," he asked. The words faltered on her lips, drowning in the tears that cascaded down her cheeks. "What happened?" Danny asked, his voice steady but urgent. He fell off the swing. "They said he might not make it," she choked out, and the desperation in her voice sent a jolt through Sarah. In that moment, she couldn't help but feel the rawness of it all, the weight of hopelessness mixed with a mother's love, the kind that pushed you to your limits. Mark stepped closer, his heart pounding, the earlier worries falling away. Their own problems felt impossibly small against this mother's anguish. "Where is he?" he asked, leaning in, drawn to the urgency in the air. "Emergency room. Please, you have to help me." The woman's hands reached out, trembling as if gripping at sanity. Without another thought, Danny turned back, rushing to grab a nurse. Mark and Sarah followed, caught in the weave of compassionate instincts. As they moved deeper into the fray, adrenaline pumped through their veins, distracting them from their own fears. They needed to focus on more than just confronting their mother. They needed to figure out how to help this family, even if it was just by advocating for a stranger in pain. In the hurried moments that followed, they found themselves outside the emergency room. The fluorescent lights buzzed eerily. Sarah glanced at Mark, who was fidgeting and staring at the floor, lost in thought once more. "What is wrong? What if this is us? What if it gets worse? What if Mom needs us, and we're stuck here?" His voice cracked, the reality of their own situation crashing back to the forefront of his mind. Tension rose in Sarah's chest. "Then we have to channel this. If we can help her, we can help ourselves too," she said, her voice firm. She thought of their mother, alone in her battles, and the families here fighting for life. "Let us not lose ourselves in fear." Danny returned, his face grave. "They're taking the boy into surgery," he relayed. "The doctors will do everything they can, but it's serious." The weight of those words sank in. Sarah observed the boy's mother, clutching an empty chair, fingers digging in like she was trying to hold on to a hope that felt elusive. "Can we pray with her?" she suggested, instinctively knowing that sometimes even the smallest gestures mattered. Mark nodded, as Danny stepped forward. They formed a small circle, and the mother blinked at them, bewildered. "You don't even know me," she murmured. "But we're here," Sarah said, her heart aching for her. "We may not know you, but your pain matters. We're all human, and we need each other." As they joined hands, a hush fell around them, a stillness that softened the frantic energy of the hospital. Sarah closed her eyes, imagining warmth and light filling the room, a thread connecting them all, strangers caught in a tide of crisis. "Please let him be okay," she whispered, feeling the unity of their hopes bind them as tightly as the clasped fingers. "And help us be brave." When they finished, the woman looked at Sarah, tears glimmering like fragile jewels. "Thank you. I didn't expect this," she said, voice trembling. Just then, a surgeon emerged from the operating room, scrub-stained and face-weary. All faces turned towards him, breaths caught in throats. "He is stable," he announced, and relief swept through them like a tidal wave. The mother gasped, tears flowing freely now. And yet, amidst the rush of emotions, the questions remained large in Mark's heart. He turned to Danny. "How do we get to Mom and all this?" But before Danny could respond, the chaos of the hospital came crashing back, louder and more fervent. Would their own fears and deaths melt away like the relief they felt just moments before? Would they ever manage to hold on to their family amidst the growing storm? And what shocking truth awaited them when they returned home? The waiting area fell silent again, an uncomfortable hush settling among the small crowd of anxious families. It was as if the earlier burst of hope had created a fragile bubble, reminding everyone of their own lurking fears. Mark's heart thudded heavily in his chest, and relief for the boy and his mother felt like a temporary mask over the shadows of his own thoughts. "Let us find Mom," Danny finally said, glancing at Mark, who was still lost in his worry. "She needs us now more than ever." "Right," Mark replied, his voice barely above a whisper. He wiped his clammy hands on his jeans, narrowing his focus on the hallway that led to the last place they wanted to be, their mother's hospital room. Didn't he know what state she would be in, or if she would even want to see them? It had been months since they had spoken, and the rift felt more like a chasm. "Sarah," Danny called out, breaking his reverie. "Come on, let us go." With a deep breath, Sarah stepped forward to join her brothers. "We'll figure it out together." "We always do," she encouraged, but inside, she felt the swell of uncertainty just beneath her skin. The unspoken tension of the family's struggles loomed like a dark cloud. As they navigated through the corridors, they passed families huddled together. Some were clutching hands, others were alone, faces drawn with worry, hope battling despair. It reminded her of the power of connection they had just felt moments ago with the boy's mother. Their shared pain had forged an instinctive bond, a reminder that no one was truly alone in their suffering. Mark stopped suddenly, nearly bumping into a nurse as she brushed past them with urgency in her stride. "Excuse me, can you tell us which room our mom is in?" he asked, trying to suppress the tremor in his voice. "Room 214, the nurse replied quickly, casting a sympathetic glance before continuing down the hall. Danny clenched his fist, the urgency propelling him forward. "Let us go." They stepped into the dimly lit room, the smell of antiseptic strong in the air. It felt colder than the rest of the hospital, the silence almost heavy. There, in the bed, lay their mother, frail but alive. Tubes fed into her arms, machines beeped rhythmically, pulling them into a reality they had been trying to avoid. "Mom," Mark choked. The sight of her so vulnerable tugged at every string of his heart. Her eyes fluttered open slowly. "Boy," she murmured, her voice weak but filled with a deep warmth that cut through the clinical chill of the room. "Mom, we're here," Danny said, stepping closer. "We were worried sick about you." She started, her breath shaking. "I didn't want you to see me like this. Maybe we needed to see you," Sarah interjected gently, moving to the other side of the bed. "We've missed you." Little by little, the walls that had been built up over months began to crack. They sat around her, sharing silence that felt strangely comforting. But with each soft breath, that lingering question from Mark resurfaced like a haunting echo. "Mom, we want to help. Can you tell us what is going on?" His voice trembled, mingling concern with a desperation for answers that could lead them back to the family they once were. A flicker of something crossed their mother's face, uncertainty mixed with fear. She lifted a hand weakly, as if trying to signal that the words she might speak would shatter them all further. Tension hung in the air, but before anyone could move, the door swung open again, revealing a tall figure with arms crossed, a striking man in a crisp suit. "I'm sorry to interrupt," he began, eyeing them cautiously. All heads turned, confusion setting in. Who was this man, and why did he look like he was about to change everything? In an instant, Sarah felt her intuition tingling with unease as she watched their mother's face paling at the sight of him. What truth was this stranger ushering into their lives? And what lay beneath the surface of this family turmoil? The man stepped fully into the room, the soft click of the door closing behind him echoing through the silence. He took a moment to analyze each of their faces, lingering on their mother's pale form. His sharp features softened, just slightly, as he exhaled a measured breath. "I'm here to discuss a very important matter regarding your mother," he said, his voice smooth yet heavy with gravity. The straightforwardness of his tone sent chills down Sarah's spine. She shifted closer to Danny. Her heart raced, feeling something was terribly off. "Who are you?" Mark asked, standing a little taller, putting himself forward protectively. The strength of his voice surprised even him, fueled by instinct and the rush of adrenaline. "I'm Jacob Allen," he replied, glancing at their mother, who now looked more frail than ever. "I'm your mother's attorney. I think it's essential we have this conversation now." Danny shot a look at Sarah, worry etched on his face. The words attorney and conversation had never felt so ominous. Their mother's gaze was distant yet pleading, as if she wished to communicate something without speaking. "Why does she need an attorney?" Danny asked, arms crossed, his protective nature kicking in. "What is going on?" "Your mother has made some decisions that affect all of you," Jacob continued. "This isn't just about her health, but also about her financial situation." "Financial? What do you mean?" Mark felt a knot tighten in his stomach. "Mom," Sarah said, her voice breaking just slightly. "What decisions?" She looked down at the floor, dread forming a pit in her stomach. "Are you okay?" The confusion on their mother's face deepened, and for a moment, it seemed a shadow danced over her features. But then she found her resolve, pushing through her fear. I thought I could handle it," she whispered. "But it's more complicated than I ever expected." Jacob took a step closer. "It's vital you understand. There's an inheritance involved that requires your involvement. It's substantial, and it could change everything for you three." He paused, glancing at their mother, as if gauging how much she wanted to reveal. "What kind of inheritance?" Mark's brow furrowed. "And why didn't you tell us about it?" Their mother turned her head slightly, looking at them with an intensity that cut through the haze of confusion filling the room. "I didn't want you to be burdened. I thought I could fix things myself." Her voice wobbled, but she held their eyes. "Your mother has a hidden savings account," Jacob added, his tone calm but urgent. "It's worth about $100 million. The circumstances surrounding it are delicate, and I need your consent to proceed with the next steps." Mark's mind spun. $100 million? Hidden? It felt surreal and unreal. All he could think about was how long their family had struggled, how different their lives could be. But why did she leave it hidden? Danny tried to piece it together, feeling the rising tension in the room. "What if we had known? Maybe you wouldn't have begun to heal," their mother interrupted, emotion swelling in her eyes. "I didn't want the weight of that responsibility to be on you. It was my burden." Sarah felt a mix of anger and sorrow rush through her. "But we're supposed to face things together. You could be trusted us more." The air felt thick, charged with unspoken words and a lifetime of decisions. Their mother opened her mouth to respond, but the words seemed trapped in her throat. Jacob looked from them back to their mother, the tension mounting. In that moment, Sarah realized this could either be the key to their family's salvation or the wrecking ball to whatever fragile foundation they were trying to rebuild. "Can we know why you chose to hide it?" she asked, her voice bold and steady, even as her heart quaked. But just as their mother was about to respond, the machinery around her beeped in protest, drawing immediate attention away from their conversation. Panic flooded her eyes. "What is happening?" Mark shouted, taking a step back, the noise echoing loudly in the charged silence. As the door swung open again, more medical personnel flooded into the room, their hurried movements fragmenting the emotional weight that had built over those fleeting moments. And while Sarah stood stunned, the truth still hanging in the air, A seed of doubt and fear sprouted in her mind. In the chaos, what revelations might still linger just at the edge of their grasp? What choices lay ahead for their family, and at what cost? The chaos in the hospital room erupted around them. Nurses rushed in, lights flashed, and the constant beeping of machines grew frantic. Sarah felt as though she were watching a dramatic scene unfold, but this was real. Every heartbeat seemed to echo louder, urging her to focus, to make sense of the whirlwind of emotions and actions. "Mom!" Mark's voice rang out, filled with urgency, as their mother's face paled. The weight of the moment pressed down on them all. Fear gripped Sarah's heart as they stepped back to allow the medical staff to do their work. The doctor ordered everyone out. "We need space," he declared, his voice sharp and steady, cutting through the panic. "Please step back." Danny clenched his fists, frustration and fear boiling just beneath the surface, while Sarah found herself hovering at the doorway, caught between her family's crisis and the urgency of the situation. Mark stood rigid, his eyes glued to their mother, who struggled against the veil of care that had enveloped her. "But we need to speak to her," Mark protested, desperation edging his tone as he stepped forward, his protective instincts kicking in. "Now!" The doctor interrupted firmly. As they were ushered into the hallway, Sarah felt the dread settle in her chest like an unwelcome guest. Uncertainty washed over them in waves. The glittering fair outside felt distant as they stood shrouded in worry. "What now?" Danny's voice trembled, glancing at Mark. What was she hiding? Mark's jaw hardened, eyes reflecting anger mixed with confusion. She had a fortune hidden, Danny. 100 million? Why didn't she tell us? I can't believe it, Danny replied, shaking his head. This was supposed to be a reconnection. We could have figured it out together, but now everything feels more strained than ever. Sarah took a deep breath, steadied by a resolve that had begun to grow within her. We can't let this divide us. Whatever happens, we have to face it together. We owe Mom that much. Tension held them captive, but it was fractured by a spark of determination igniting the air. You're right, Mark finally said, a new strength building behind his words. This might not just be about the money. It's about what this family has lost, and how we can find our way back. Before they could continue, the doctor emerged, his expression serious yet compassionate. Your mother is stable for now, he began, causing an immediate wave of relief to wash over them. But she is under a lot of stress, and we'll need to run some tests to make sure she is okay. I suggest you talk to her. The anxiety dissipated slightly, replaced with renewed hope. They moved to her room once more, the air thick with emotion as they stepped inside. Their mother looked smaller now, fragile yet fierce, and Sarah admired her resilience through everything. Mom, Mark began softly, stepping closer. We need you to let us in. We can face the truth together. The spark in their mother's eyes dwindled momentarily, but she nodded slowly. I know you're hurt. I didn't want you to feel the burden of my mistakes. But trust me, I've been terrified to share all this. Trust is the key, Mom, Danny said, his voice steady. We can't be a family if we're hiding from each other. A tear slid down their mother's cheek as she took a shaky breath. I thought I could protect you. But what I did only built walls. I was wrong. I lost sight of what truly matters, and it almost cost us everything. In that moment, the weight of years of silence shattered, enabling a wave of understanding to rise among them. We can't change the past, Sarah reiterated gently, but we can choose how we move forward. Mark took his mother's hand, his grip firm and reassuring. Show us what you've hidden. We'll handle whatever it is together. No more secrets. Their mother's eyes glimmered, hope flickering in the shadows. I love you all. Together, this storm can't break us. I want to heal, and I want you to be a part of my healing. As they crowded closer, replacing the fear with a bubble of warmth and acceptance. It felt as though the world could finally shift. They were more than a family divided. They were a unit, working against the tide of uncertainty. "Can we start right now?" Sarah's voice rang clear, filled with purpose. "Can we get past this together? No lies?" "Yes," her mother whispered. "Let us start with what I should have said long ago." They leaned in, forming a united front against the shadows of their past. In that small hospital room, amidst the blaring machines and sterile walls, the first glimmers of healing began to unfold, and outside, the laughter of the fair slowly filtered back in, bright and warm like rays of sun breaking through clouds. As they stepped into the light afterward, Sarah felt a new chapter beginning, not just for their mother, but for all of them together. This was their moment. This was the family they were meant to be. Now is the time to act. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and show your support. Every click matters. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. Be part of this journey. Your voice counts.